Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In this one, I wanted to talk about essentially sales. I just wanted to talk with my community success manager, Brendan, bringing him onto the channel today for a talk on what I've learned, what he's learned over the course of our careers in the consulting space, helping business owners, helping this community, you guys. What we've learned about sales, what we've learned about persuasion, and how to position an offer. Myself personally, I've sold $10, $15, $20,000 upfront packages to clients. I'm coming up on having sold $1 million worth of product, over the phone, online, which is really cool. So I just wanted to share with you, what I've learned, what strategies I've sort of taken home over that process, and to help out bring on Brendan, who's a good friend of mine and a part of the team. He's our community success manager. He really is in charge of making sure that when you join our programs or get our help, that you get incredible results. And often when you schedule a call, he's going to be the one taking your call. So you're going to get to know him a little bit as well today. So he's a beast. He knows what he's talking about. I've actually, coached him a lot, and he's coached me in return. So he's actually taught me a lot of things that I've gone on to use in my own business, which is really cool. So he's a really incredible guy. So be sure to watch this video from front to back. If all this video does for you is give you one or two key ideas that you can apply to your business that increase your sales rates by, even just 5% over the next year, 2 years. I mean, we're basically writing you, a potential anywhere from $10,000 to $100,000 check in one video. So hopefully you enjoy this video. Without further ado, let's bring onto the channel Brendan. Boom. Brendan.
Trey, what's going on, man?
It's going good. It's funny. Sometimes I start these videos, I just say the name. I'm like Brendan. The person says Trey, or like I say Jackson. They say Trey. It sounds weird, but it works, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's more natural on Zoom. I feel like if that was in like real life, I walked into a room and you were just like Trey, and I was like Brendan, it'd probably
Yeah,
a different
it's
feel.
kind of like maybe I get it from Joe Rogan. He used to listen to his show a lot. He'll do that. He'll be like John, and he'll be like Joe, and he'll be like, "How are you?" And that's how he starts his stuff. So maybe that's why.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, but
Yeah,
that's like super interesting to notice that. Yeah, because I
yeah,
listen to him a lot too.
yeah. Well, let's not bore the audience too much. I mean, the goal of this video, I guess, will be sales. It's just to learn from you and learn from me just what we've learned about sales and persuasion. And I think we both know that at the end of the day, a good offer is the most important part. Like, you got to have something that helps people. It's got to have a proven track record, or at least you can do the math as to how it will help your client. um, but you've just got some really good stuff, man, and I know you've got some maybe just mental notes prepared. I don't know really what you have ready, but I kind of want to hand you the ball, man. Like, in your opinion, having worked with me and done some of our sales, and having worked in your own business and doing sales there, and investing a good amount of money into your own education on sales and reading tons of books. I mean, what is summarize like some of the key lessons that you learned, and kind of start wherever, dude. I mean, the ball's in your court here.
For sure, man. Cool. Um, yeah. So I mean, when I think about, what kind of value I want to give to people, especially, um, those who are just kind of maybe starting on their journey or just trying to have a better grip on why they aren't selling as effectively as they should be, or like why people aren't closing, um, or why they just don't seem to be on the same page as their prospect. First thing I think of, is, I know this is something you've hit on your channel a little bit, because it's something we're definitely in sync on. But that would be just selling Socratically, and by that I mean selling in the sense that you're not there to, to force anyone to buy something that isn't a good fit for them.
Mm,
And to, narrow in on someone Socratically is to make sure that you're weeding out the people who don't need your product, who don't want your product, who can't afford your product, and who aren't a good fit for your product or service. And so, you do that, through questions. So, when people hop on either a call for, if they're coming to my business's services, my own agency, or for when I talk to people to get them into the program, 7-figure system or 6-figure systems. I run those calls. We run these, the same way, by first just asking them questions to have a great understanding of who they are, where they're at with, their lives and their business, and then assessing where they want to get to, assessing their, aspirational transformation is what I'm calling it now. Um, and, and then just assessing how they want to get there, and making sure that, how they're trying to get there and where they're trying to get to is actually a good fit for what we offer. Because if it's not a good fit, like, yeah, I'm sure I could still sell a lot of those people, but then they're going to come in and eventually they're going to realize that it's not a good fit, and they're not seeing the results. And then, it's not a good look for the people selling the product or the service. And it's just not a good fit all around. So, um, I mean, does that all make sense? Am I rambling?
No, no, I'm tracking with you, and I agree with you. Give me a practical example of Socratic selling, and maybe how people could apply it in their own business. Because I think that phrase Socratic selling, I mean, I'm sure plenty of people have heard of Socratic method, and I think maybe did I have you read that book Socratic selling? If I believe I did, or at least I
You did.
recommended it
Yep.
to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a solid read, right? It's like asking questions that lead to the sale is the subtitle. So what's a practical example of that, and how can people apply that in their own businesses? And like, what does it look like to make a Socratic sale? Like, what are some of the questions? What are some examples of questions that maybe like someone who runs a coaching business or an agency business could ask their prospect on a call to help unravel some of that information?
Hmm. Yeah. So, for starters, the concept of the Socratic method and the concept of, discovering someone's A to B aspirational transformation is going to be the same across whatever niche, whatever industry, whatever sales call. But then when you get into the nuances of it and you dig into the details, that's where some of the questions you want to ask might be a little bit different. Um, so, you can always start off a call just asking, why, what motivated you to book this call? Why you're here? Why you taking the time out of your day to do this? Um, and so you can just start very general to get a good understanding. Let the prospect take it wherever their mind's at, so you can actually understand where they're at. You don't want to start too narrow, and kind of skip over important details, and then you won't actually understand why they're on the call in the first place. So I would definitely start with just a general question of why they're actually here, what's motivating them to talk to you. And then from there, just kind of drill in a little bit, go from a high level approach, general questions, to more specific ones that are actually going to see if it's a good tailored fit to what you offer. And so, for, I guess, example of, let's say, like a holistic medicine agency, which is something that I kind of do, is you could ask them how long they've been in business, right? How many clients they have, or how many patients they have, what they charge for it, and then you know kind of what they're getting in monthly. And then you kind of drill down into that. You get a great understanding of where they're actually at. If they have a good understanding of what they're actually doing, if they have a good understanding of how their own sales process happens, and you can drill into that too with more probing questions. So see if you get too vague of an answer, you can probe into that and be like, so, well, how does your process actually work there for closing a patient or closing a client? Do you have a one call close? Do you have two call closes? Do you have to follow up with them and start drilling into that, to get a really good understanding of where they're at, and who they actually are, how they operate. Because if you bring in someone that to your agency that is just all over the place and is a mess, and you're trying to help them scale, it's probably not going to work out too well, and then they're going to think it's your fault. So yeah,
Yeah,
I guess,
and
yeah,
one of the
sum
things.
that up. Go for it.
Oh, sorry about that. Not to interject, man. It's working with a little bit of a lag, I think, but one of the things that I'm noticing as well that you're saying is, and it reminds me of this quote. And I think I have a video on the channel where I talk about I've taken over 1,000 sales calls, and one of in the lessons I've learned. And I would almost want to interject this point off of what you're saying into that video, which is a quote that I heard. It was Einstein or one of these really smart people said it. Said if you have a problem and you have 60 minutes to solve it, spend 55 minutes, defining the problem, and then 5 minutes solving the problem. And it almost feels like that's like what sales is supposed to be. Um, and to reference this too, like there was this program that I actually purchased for you to help you in your role in my business. And I purchased it. It was like an expensive, it was like $2,500 program, and it was just to help like with sales and making sure people are a good fit and everything like that. And the guy on the other end of the call like was crap at sales, so like I wasn't sold, but I let you decide. I was like, hey man, if this is gonna be good, you do it, and I'll buy it for you. but like he didn't ask us anything. He didn't know anything about my business, didn't know anything about what I'm looking for, what you're looking for, but you were already sold, so I went with it. Versus, I've been on calls where like I'm telling the guy like my story, and like he's like asking, what do you need? Why do you need it? What are you trying to get to? And you can call it a tactic if you want, but I don't like that phrase because it sounds almost manipulative. It's more like, if anybody's going to do anything, they got to know why they're doing that thing. And so you're almost helping them guide themselves through that process of, so you're here, you want to get here, I can see if there's a gap, there's these few things you want to fix, what's stopping you from fixing them. Okay, so we have this offer, here's what we do. So for you
Mhm.
and your agency and for me and my agency, like when we get to that offer level, I think we have a similar mentality, right? It's just like make the offer and then just shut up and let them ask questions and figure out where they're at in relation to the things that you've said.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And actually, I guess one thing I didn't really mention to you regarding that sales guy is that was actually more of a 2-call close. The first call, it was just me and he rang my phone and he asked me a bunch of questions. He asked me like all about how we
Oh,
sell
okay,
and
cool.
what the process was like. And so,
There you
yeah,
go.
I guess, yeah, yes, you were just kind of missing that context. And so for that reason, I actually
Yeah,
already
I hop
had.
on the call and I hop on the call and he's like, hey, so here's the thing, and I'm like, okay, like I wasn't let me know I was ready for this, but all right.
Yeah. Yeah, I probably
But
should have filled you in on that
uh,
a little better, but yeah, but no,
little
I mean,
insider look at the dynamic, I guess.
yeah, I
Yeah.
mean that's a good segue to explain, you know, how you build someone's trust and how you actually get them to buy from you, right? And to talk about the three tens of certainty and kind of how to crack that code. And so,
Mm.
when I say that, should I go whiteboard style like you do?
Dude, I
I'll
think that'd be kind of dope. You want to give it a shot? People can tell me in the comments whether they think I'm better at whiteboard or if Brandon's better at whiteboard.
I can almost guarantee you it's going to be Trey. He has about years of experience over me, and my handwriting's terrible in person, so it can only be worse than a mouse. But let me pull this up.
Yeah, dude, I've gotten really good at using this mouse to do whiteboard content. It's surprising.
Yeah, let's see how this goes. All right, you're seeing a whiteboard, right? You see that?
Boom. There we go. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, this is already brutal. Should I kill the whiteboard or should I keep going with this?
Keep
This is gonna
going,
be.
dude.
I'm gonna have
I
him
think we should do
edit this
whiteboard.
out.
You cut back in right here when you're doubting your whiteboard skills.
Okay. All right, we'll
Uh,
come back in now. All right. So
cool.
when you think about the three tens, of certainty, uh, and this is really important to understand before you hop on a sales call and before you're actually trying to sell someone on something, is that they need to trust you. So we'll take a step back. They need to trust your product or your service first, right? And so you want that at a 10 or as close to a 10 as possible. Then, it, yeah, this is really ugly, but
I love it, dude. I
that
love
is
it.
brutal.
Vote in the comments, guys.
You want them to trust you, right? And then you want them to also trust your company. I'm gonna have to buy a digital whiteboard. Um, so you want those at tens, right?
So you're
So you want
saying this
them.
is a scale of 1 to 10 on each. So you got like 1 to 10 on product, 1 to 10 on salesman, 1 to 10 on company.
That's right.
Yeah.
So coming into a call, depending on how well you've warmed them up, or how what your platform looks like. If you have a YouTube channel like Trey, they're going to be higher up on the certainty scale to the salesman likely if it's Trey, and definitely the company if they're watching all his videos. Um, and so, but if you have you don't have a YouTube channel, it's just you're getting someone cold, then they're likely going to be further down on this 1 to 10 scale for each of these three aspects. And what you want to accomplish from the point where they book a call to the point where you close them is to get them as high up as possible on these three tens. All right, so you want them to trust your product or your service at a 10 out of 10 scale. You want them to trust you as a salesman at a 10 out of 10, and your company at a 10 out of 10. Now, if you're a one-man show right now, you're just a one-person entrepreneur, then the company and the salesman are going to be one and the same. So it might make it a little bit easier to actually make that close. But especially if you're a salesman selling something for a different, for a different company or different whatever, This is important to keep in mind, that to make a sale, they have to trust you. And so with that, to a common question for this is, where do you need to get them as far as what number actually cracks the code, right, to get them to sell? So like if they're at like a 7 here, an 8 here, and like a 7 here, are they gonna close? And the answer to that is, there isn't one black and white plain answer. What that comes down to is their action threshold and their level of pain.
Mm.
Fix that T. So, and so to describe that, their action threshold, everyone has their own action threshold. It's just kind of, how you're built based on your past experiences or who you are and how likely you are to buy something and how easy it is to sell you on something. Right. So if, someone just has a high action threshold and there's someone that's super analytical, they want to think everything over before they purchase. Uh, they just think it's super scary to, hop on one call, not actually really knowing someone, and then buy something. They're going to have a high action threshold. It's going to make the level of trust that you need for this person to buy really high. It could be as high as a 10, 10, 10. Whereas you could have someone who is just, a lay down sale. They, they don't really value money the same way, or they just don't care to think things over in the same way. And for them, you might be able to sell them at a 777, right?
Mm.
So it depends on the person. And so with that, if someone has a high action threshold, right? Let's say it's up there, then their level of pain is going to become incredibly important in if you make the sale or if you don't make the sale, right? And so the level of pain is also something that they can come onto the call with. So like if, for us, for example, with 7-figure systems, if someone, has been really, hammering away at their agency, but things aren't clicking and they know it can work, but they just can't get it to go themselves, and they've been thinking about it forever, and it's just really weighing them down. They're in a high level of pain. Um, they might be already up here, right, when they hop on the call. But it is your job as a salesman and on the sales call to make sure that that person is feeling the pain. So if they have a high action threshold, then they're actually going to make that sale and buy into your service. Because if they're not feeling pain on that call and they have a high action threshold, or even if they're not feeling pain on the call and they have a medium action threshold, they might not make that purchase, because pain is what really gets people to take any action at all.
Mm.
And so, and that's done going back to like what we were talking about earlier through the Socratic method, right? So you can draw pain out from people by asking them questions and figuring out where they are, where they want to be, why they want to be there, why they want to do what they're doing, and how it's going to impact them, their lives, and how it's already impacted them in their lives. Um, and so really the action threshold and the level of pain, those are things that are kind of malleable on a call, temporarily malleable. As you can move someone's level of pain on a call, and then just the way humans work, a day later, they're going to kind of feel comfortable again and not, feel the importance of buying your service anymore. Um,
Right.
so another reason that it's important to hammer that in on the call and make that sale there.
Mm.
Um, is there anything that has been confusing about what I've been saying?
No, nothing's confusing. No, I'm tracking with all of it. I
Cool.
think really the core of it, right, is like it's just trust and having a good offer and then seeing if it's a good fit, you know? And like a good fit means that, the prospect, and this is for you guys' businesses, the people that are listening. Like,
Mhm.
I don't care if you have a program like what we've got, or like a group coaching offer, a consulting offer, or if you have even an online course, or if you are, an agency owner doing like Facebook ad or funnel building or website building or whatever services. I think one of the ways that I like to summarize my sales methodology is people don't buy, what you're selling them. They buy like the outcome that comes with what you're selling them. People don't buy things, they buy like perceived versions of themselves that they want to arrive at. And if it wasn't for humans like ability to, or man's ability to sort of project out into the future and place themselves in a certain position in their life, and visualize that and see that, nobody would buy anything. it's the vision of the future that causes people to make decisions. So our job is to, you know, see that vision with them, support it, and show them how they can get there faster, or how we can guarantee we can get them there, or how, because they think they're a couple degrees off from arriving at that situation, how we can fix that so if they do arrive at that situation. I feel like that's kind of the core of sales for me. And, you know, all of that under the context of making sure that the client is actually in the right position. Because to be honest, like this is like a very powerful idea that you let them tell you where they want to get, and then you sell off of what they've said. You can honestly abuse it. And, I know many people that do. So it's almost like an ethical warning. Like if you honestly apply this idea and take it to its full extent, you can sell anything to anyone. But your goal is essentially to make sure that your offer can actually help the person, and you've actually got something good, and that you're not, just throwing them under the bus.
Hmm.
Which it sucks that I even have to say that, but that's just how sales is. Like humans are fickle, and we get desperate, and we get arrogant, and we forget that what we're doing has a real world effect on people. And I feel like it's important to say that. But yeah, would you agree with
100%.
me that where they are and where they want to get, we're bridging that gap. We're not even giving them our thing. We're just bridging gaps for people.
100%. Yeah. Two big thoughts there. One is that, yeah, you have to act with integrity here. And that's why I, emphasized that earlier in our chat when we were talking about, the Socratic method and weeding out people that aren't a good fit. Um, and I think I said this before, is that, I could sell a lot more people if I wanted to, but it's, they're not, it's not like you can just sell someone into what you're selling and then they just disappear and you keep the money, right? If you sell someone in that's not a good fit and shouldn't actually be there, it is going to come back to you. They are, either going to get upset with you and and like reach out to you in some way and ask for a refund or whatever, or it'll come back around. So that is important to keep in mind. Um, and and secondly, to answer your question there, yeah, um, that actually I think goes hand in hand with the aspirational transformation thing that we're talking about already, going from A to B, right? You're here at A and you want to get to B. When people are buying, they're buying either because they think this product is going to get them to B, just buying it, or they think it's going to get them closer to B, right? It's going to get them further to that point where they want to be at. And so, yeah, like they're not buying, when people come on, they're not really buying Trey Cockrum, right? Like they trust you and they see who you are, but they're buying where they think Trey Cockrum is going to bring them. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure, dude. I would agree with that entirely. And it's interesting too, because looking back at my, career, every expense that I have, every single expense is with that version of me envisioned in mind. And then I ask, does this purchase help me get there? So very future oriented people are like, the buyers. They're the buyers. And people who are, more obsessed, like this is also why, in a lot of my videos, I talk about how the only thing that really matters is your mentality. It's your perspective. One of the elements in having what I consider to be like a healthy business owner perspective is letting go of previous baggages and letting your past be the past. Like a lot of people deal with all kinds of different like chains in their past or regrets or whatever. But if you're letting those affect your decisions, then you're actually skewing, that version of you that you want in the future, because you're accepting some issues from your past and it's applying to the version of you in the future. And Alan Watts has a good quote on it. He's like, you're under no obligation to be the same person you were 5 minutes ago. Like you don't have to keep doing what your past did. And people who reference their past and people who look at their past and regret things, they're the hard ones to sell, because they'll like look at the like, oh, I've been in other programs and it didn't work. Or I've worked with other agencies and it didn't work. Or I've worked with coaches and it didn't work. Or not only that, they can even say like, I've made all these mistakes. Who's to say I'll get this right this time? You know? And so those are the people that are really hard to work with, because they don't understand that that the idea that they have of themselves, and this is way deeper maybe than what we were planning on talking about, but the idea that they have of themselves is way more valuable than they might think it is. You
Mhm.
know, I don't know if that
Yeah,
makes sense, but
it
that's
does.
a thought that I've had. Yeah.
It reminds me of a lesson I just took from Psycho-Cybernetics, a book I just read. And if anyone's listening, I highly recommend reading that book. Um, in that, and one of the lessons I took was that in any situation, it's important to separate your opinion from the facts, right? And so I think the situation or example that was used in the book was something along the lines of, if you start off your day on a terrible note, right, you get like, I don't know, a bad message in the morning. It's a fact that, all right, you got a message that maybe negatively affected you to start your day, but it's your opinion that that's going to affect how you behave and anything that happens to you for the rest of your day, the rest of your week, or the rest of whatever, right? And so like, to bring that back to the example you're talking about, when people come in and maybe they've been a part of a different program that just didn't give the results that they wanted to, or was like a false promise, right? It might be a fact that you joined a different program and it fell short of your expectations or fell short of what they promised, but it's only your opinion that's going to affect you in the future, and it's only your opinion that impacts all the other programs out there, right? And so separating those, understanding what is actually going on in these situations, for any type of situation, is going to be important, when moving forward with any type of decision that you make.
Yeah, I agree. And I think understanding that in people too, like I found that on a sales call, I'm doing work on the client immediately. Like I'm not even really selling. I'm like immediately trying to do work on them and help them understand why they think what they think, and getting to the core of, their belief system and their worldview, and why they think that certain things won't work, or why they are stuck in certain ways of thinking, and asking them hard questions and challenging them often, and really getting to the core of, why they're stuck where they're at. And, after, again, because I've taken over 1,000 sales calls, we've helped like over 400 business owners at this point. And, for me, like, I'm just seeing such a common theme of like, nothing's actually really a true physical problem in their business. It's just a problem in here. And as a sales guy, your job is to identify whatever that problem is and help them see that we have a solution to whatever thing it is in your head that you say is holding you back, or that you say is the problem. And it's a powerful force. It's not like something you can just get rid of just by conscious thought. The psycho-cybernetics also talks about how we're always kind of hypnotized, and we have a certain way of thinking, without even really realizing it. We have this identity, we have this way of thinking, we have this like worldview. And when you're talking to a prospect, you almost like see that come through. I don't know if you've experienced that, but you just see like the way they view the world and the ways that they think. And because when you're trying to get someone to make a decision, and you're trying to see if they're a good fit, you're getting handed a lot of truths about them that you otherwise wouldn't learn. And it's fascinating to me to see how many people that I've been on a call with, where it is legitimately not a business problem, it is purely a problem in their head. And there's no other way to like describe it than to just have done it as many times as I've done it. It's just, it
Mhm.
always is a problem in their own head.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think, you find that out too by going into it really with like a Socratic mindset. Because it's one thing to say, all right, I'm going to use a Socratic method on this call and try to make the sale, but it's important to actually go into your sales calls with that mindset, like you're actually just going to figure out if they're a good fit before trying to make, give any type of offer to them. Uh, and so like that,
Yep.
that'll completely change how you go about the call, and how you actually ask those questions, and then enabling you to ask good probing questions and figure out, who they actually are, and why they're there.
Yeah, exactly. It's like you're diagnosing, you're not selling, you're diagnosing.
Right.
Like you're here, this is your problem. Like, and once I honestly, what I've found is that, even back when I was doing sales in my agency and like selling agency services, like solely agency services and nothing else, like once I heard a prospect tell me what their problem was and I was able to relay it back to them, and they said, yes, that's it. Like that's the problem. Because a lot of people, they say, oh, my problem is we don't have enough traffic. I'm like, let's get way deeper than that. Like, why don't you? What have you tried? Why do you need traffic? What would traffic do for you? How many eyes does it take to make a sale? And like, we need to pick that way apart.
Yeah.
And then we'll get to the core of it, which is actually they don't need more traffic. It's more like they have enough eyes, but they can't seem to turn it into sales. They've got like 10,000 followers or whatever, but they're just not making any money because their offer sucks. So it's not like they need more traffic. It's actually that their offer's bad, you know? And so then we get to the core of it. We get down deeper, 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 and to figure out what the problem is. And if I can be able to relay the client's problem back to them respectfully without, saying they were wrong or saying, oh, you think it's traffic, but it's actually product. Like you don't get arrogant about it. You just let them tell you and then you relay it back to them. And once they hear it from you, they're like, yeah, that's actually probably it. Like I think if we could fix that, we'd be able to go from, 8,000 a month to 30 or whatever it is that they're trying to do.
Mhm.
That's what I found.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think it's kind of speaks to there's almost a myth of poor lead quality. You know, everyone,
Yeah.
a lot of people like to try to blame, why they're not making sales or not scaling to poor quality of leads that they're getting. When in reality, it's their sales process or the product that they're selling that isn't effective, right? Because those,
Yep.
in my opinion, those should be in place and solidified before you're trying to scale up your traffic. Because if you scale up
Yep.
your traffic without those in place, then you really can't actually scale. So
Yeah. Exactly. And I've told my buddy who runs this software company here out of Indiana. They do like 400 grand a month. And I've told him like, hey, you should rename your sales department. You should call it your diagnostics department or department. Like it's
mhm.
like people schedule a call to get a diagnosis. They don't schedule a call to get sold. They figure out what's wrong. And then if what's wrong aligns up with the solution, it comes down to how badly they want that solution or whether they're willing to settle for staying at what's wrong. And so he thought about that because they have like 20 sales guys at their business. I'm like, you should call it the diagnostics department. I keep saying apartment. Diagnostics department. And he's like, I really like that. So he thought about doing that. And I think this morning they had like a training for their team, and he said he was going to do that and like say, you guys are not salesmen, you're doctors, you're diagnosing.
Mhm.
It's way better than any other method out there because
Yeah,
then you're getting essentially to sell themselves. You get the client to admit pain and then release control and then tell you they need help, and then you tell them what you have to offer, and then it comes down to if they can afford it, they're ready to go. If they see that the offer can help them, they're ready to go, and if they trust the company, they're ready to go. Like the three areas: product, company, salesman.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. That could be a powerful way right there, and just you know, uh, semantics to change the way to shift the way that not only like the prospect sees it, but the salesman sees it.
yep.
If you're looking at yourself as someone that diagnoses a problem rather than sells a product,
Yes.
then it can completely change the frame of how you actually go about a sales call.
Absolutely can.
Yeah.
Absolutely can. Yeah, dude. Well, are there any other main ideas that you kind of want to share, some things that you've learned, or do you want to maybe make a part two about this some other time if people like it in the comments? I think that might be a good idea.
Yeah, I'm thinking the latter, man. I like the idea of a part two. I could dig into the different parts of a sales call.
Hmm.
There's different parts and there's nuance to each, and important things to consider for each, going from the opening to the Socratic intelligence gathering to transitioning to the close and all of that. Um, so that could be included in part two, and other conceptual items as well.
Cool. Yeah, let's do it. And maybe in part two as well, I can break down some of the sales that I've made. So for those of you listening this far, what I want you to do is I want you to leave a comment saying part two in the comments, wherever you're watching this. Say, I want part two. And then maybe give us some recommendations of what you want to hear in part two. But it sounds like Brendan's going to give the timeline. And I'm also going to break down some of the sales that I've made. What I'll do is I'll break down the very first $10,000 single sale that I made. So it was $10,000 upfront. And this was like, I was 20, and it's only a year ago, but I was 20. So, how many people can say they were able to do that? So it's a pretty cool experience. And I'd love to break that down for people and just say, what it was, how I sold it, some breakdowns of the call. That might be a pretty cool video as well.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. It could be a
Cool.
whole lot of value.
Yeah, should be. So this is just kind of testing the waters. If you guys like it, leave a comment, shoot me a message on Instagram, post on our Facebook group saying you want more. Otherwise, see you in part two, Brendan.
All right. See you then, man.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me.
Yeah.